It will come for the government. It will come for the police. It will hit every institution. Welcome, my friends, to our brave new world. CDC employees call out agency's toxic culture of racial aggressions. Oh, but it gets better. You see, along with this calling out of toxic racial aggressions, they say the authors make, there's a paper. The authors make 7 demands for action, including diversifying senior leadership, addressing racism in the CDC's culture, and publicly declaring racism a public health crisis in the U.S. Because that's what the Center for Disease Control and Prevention should be doing. Declaring racism a public health crisis. Man, this is how it starts. And I believe it will get substantially worse. I had this conversation the other night in the IRL podcast. I don't know if you guys catch it. It's over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. We do it live. And what I said was, this will end with the destruction of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And what they're going to say is that the Constitution, it was created by racist white slave owners to protect their slaveocracy. That's what the New York Times said. They successfully rewrite history in this way, which it seems like they're succeeding, especially as they indoctrinate kids. It will only be a matter of time before they start burning the Constitution, before someone goes into the National Archives and no one stops them and they pull this stuff out and destroy it. And then any copy of the Constitution will be destroyed, and people have digital copies, and they'll come and they'll burn them and destroy those too. And they'll say, "You're not a bigot, are you? Why are you supporting white supremacist literature?" Maybe it won't get to that point. Seems kind of extreme. But I'll tell you this, man. What have we seen? What have we seen? In St. Louis, when the McCloskeys went to defend themselves, did the police come and arrest those who would trespass on private property? No. What about the people dancing on the highway in Seattle? Did the police come and arrest them? No. But the police did show up to the McCloskeys to take away their gun. That's right. The cops will be enforcers for the mob. You think I'm joking? Read history. I love it when people say, "I'll just keep my head down." The CDC, a governmental institution, now has a group of people demanding they declare a public health crisis. Racism. What? It's nebulous. It's ephemeral. How do you actually track down the scourge? Well, they've already redefined what racism is. So what comes next? They're going to tell you that everything you do is racism. And they're going to tell you you can't do it. And they will curtail your freedoms, your speech, your rights. They will say gun ownership is racist. Oh, that's right. They'll come for everything. They'll say due process is racist. They've already done this. They've claimed that due process should not be upheld in colleges. All of these things have been happening. I'm not saying it's a grand conspiracy. I'm saying the dominoes are falling over and nothing is stopping the lunatics from gaining this ground. Now, maybe with the recent culture collapse, things like the New York Times, Barry Weiss, Andrew Sullivan, the liberal elites finally getting some comeuppance, there may be some pushback and the far left may be curtailed. I'm not convinced. You see, the dominoes have started falling down. These big brands have already embraced this stuff. Boy, would they look dumb if it turned out they were wrong. What happens if after the Barry Weiss's departure from the New York Times, there is a cultural reckoning and people abandon these big publications and Donald Trump wins in an epic historical landslide? What are all these companies going to do when they realize not only were they wrong, but they are the fringe of the fringe and no one likes what they have to say? Yeah, they'll have egg on their face. There's also the scary possibility they're not wrong. And our culture has really changed just that much. As statues are destroyed and torn down and nobody is arrested, they hunt down vandals who drive over Black Lives Matter murals. Not just one, but a couple. So here you go. The CDC, now a governmental agency, they say more than 1,200 current employees at the CDC have signed a letter calling for the federal agency to address ongoing and recurring acts of racism and discrimination against Black employees. In the letter addressed to CDC Director Robert Redfield and dated June 30th, the authors put their call for change in the context of the coronavirus pandemic's disproportionate impact on Black people. I'm going to tell you what. 1,200 people, current employees, signed a letter. I wonder how many employees they actually have, but I'll tell you this. Do you believe that every 1,200 of those people agree with all of this? I'm willing to bet that they don't. It's a federal agency. I'd imagine that they have a lot of employees that are on different, different areas of the political spectrum. But let me tell you something. You know what I see? Regular people keeping their head down. So someone walks up to you and says, will you sign this letter denouncing racism? And they go, oh, yeah, for sure, I'll sign it. And then they do. I'm just keeping my head down so they don't come for me. I have a family. Yeah, I know. I know you have a family. I hear you. I feel for you. I sympathize. I empathize. I want you to be able to feed your kids. I don't know if the people who signed this letter all agree or don't agree, and some do and some don't. I don't know. I can only assume they all agree. But I'm worried because there are a lot of people, and I've heard the stories. They've been on Twitter. They've been in the news where someone in an office will say they want to do a message about denouncing racism. And the people in the office just say, okay, I better keep my head down to protect my kids. It's going to be really fun, the future you leave for your children. It's going to be a great world. I'm excited for them to have no civil rights, no speech, no due process. Maybe one of them, when they're in their 20s, it turns out that their father, their mother were moderates. Heaven forbid they read Barry Weiss. Remember the guy who he's a race car driver? His dad said the N-word in the 80s before he was born. So he lost a sponsor. I don't think anybody really understands what happens in history. I think they just don't. It's called the sins of the father. The phrase exists for a reason. You want to leave a better future for your children? Stand up and start speaking out. Don't sign these letters. Make counter letters saying it is not the position of the Center for Disease Control to make assertions about politics, about racism. We deal with virology or other things too. I actually visited the CDC once. It's pretty cool. They have educational museum-like type installations. So with the organizations, with federal agencies like this now embracing, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Your child will grow up. Congratulations, you've fed them. I'm very proud of you. I'm happy you were able to do it. I mean it sincerely. And they'll be about 20 or 20, in their early 20s. And one of the woke morality police will be walking around with their truncheon. And they'll say, Mr. Smith, it says here on my little futuristic tablet device, my phone, that your father had once posted a spicy meme when they were a teenager. Can't have that. But I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. That was my dad. I didn't say anything. And the van pulls up and they throw your kid in. And your kid gets to spend the rest of their lives in the gulag. I know I'm exaggerating on purpose. I don't really know how bad it will get. And I'm only using our historical references to make, predictions about what life would be like in the future. But I think the simple answer is if we look at the current trend with what's going on, then you're going to end up with people that your children will grow up and they'll be unhireable. They'll be second-class citizens. They can't get jobs. They'll be restricted. They can't buy things and they'll be impoverished. This is where things get truly crazy. When they say the authors make 7 demands, publicly declaring racism a public health crisis in the U.S. What? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Stupidest. What does that mean? What do? You're going to make a vaccine for racism? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to make everybody wear everyone's going to wear these gigantic square, it'll be like framed green suits, like green. You pull it over your head. No one can see how tall you are. No one can see what your race is. And everyone uses the same voice changer. So you all talk like robots. Hello, citizen. I am here to work. Otherwise, you'll have bigotry and bias and racism, right? How do you solve people having negative opinions about other people? You can't do it. This is ridiculous. The CDC has stumbled in its attempts to address the disproportionate impact of COVID on Black Americans and other communities. Although data are incomplete, Black and Latino people in the U.S. are at least 2 times more likely than white people to die from COVID and 3 times more likely to get sick. So how is that racism? Whatever, man. Failing to address racism's role in causing health problems, the authors say, is a key reason why we have witnessed little progress in reducing many of these disparities in the U.S. over the past 50 years. Jones, who left the CDC in 2014, says she feels encouraged to see Black employees organizing to effect change. When I first saw the letter, I was feeling a resonance. I know this is no exaggeration. Okay. I know where this is going. I've read the history, and I am just tired. I am tired. I will not stop saying it. You must speak out and reject this. You want to know why? I'll show you what comes next. Nick Cannon says white people are a little less closer to animals, the true savages, acting out of a deficiency. So the only way they can act is evil. When does he get canceled? He won't. You had Deshaun Jackson posting anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. You have Chelsea Handler propping up Farrakhan. You know what, man? I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep speaking out, calling this out, demanding an end to the racism, demanding an end to the liars and the deceivers, and demanding people stand up for civil liberties, civil rights, the consent of the governed. You must speak up. I'll keep doing it until they ban me, which I imagine will probably be soon because November elections are coming up. They can't have people like me, can they? We'll see how it plays out. But I'll tell you what, man, there will come a certain point where I and many others will not be there for you. We won't. If you will not stand up, why would you expect someone to stand up for you? If you don't have the time, the energy, the fortitude, the willpower to do the hard work and take the risks to save your own life, why should anyone else? This is escalating to one of the most, to an absurd degree. It's been off the rails for the past few months. Can you imagine what Nick Cannon is saying? This is insane. The things he's saying, they are not unheard of if you've been paying attention. Why don't you go back in time, watch some Farrakhan, see what he has to say, and then you'll go, I get it now. This is what they've been believing and calling for a long time. So you know what? Hey, man, it is a free country. It is, for now. So if you don't want to do anything, I guess I can't make you, you know. I'll speak up, though. I'll stand up. I'll reject this stuff. And I'll make sure to fight as hard as I can, you know, within legal context and speech and all that stuff. And when they finally do decide to ban me, then I'll be gone. And that's it. I don't care if anyone speaks up in my defense after I get banned. I'm going to shrug my shoulders and say, I knew. And I know so many people will refuse to speak up because they think cowering and hiding in their basement is the safest way to get by. And it never works. It doesn't. But feel free to do what you want to do. Hey, at least while you still can, right? We have freedom. Stick around. I got one more segment for you coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.